Good afternoon. Welcome to Inside Indiana Sports Now with Kent Sterling. It's Tuesday, April 20th, 2021. We're brought to you by the great people at Today's Dentistry. Dr. Mike O'Neill, the best dentist that there is. Make him your dentist. Take control of your dental health. Give him a call, 317-849-2933. Remember, hit subscribe, hit like, ring the bell, do all that stuff. Now let's talk about sports. Miller Kopp's coming to IU. More good news for Indiana basketball. I alluded to it this morning. Said I thought that we were going to have more good news from Indiana basketball. It came across at about 9:30 this morning. Miller Kopp coming to Indiana. He's transferring from Northwestern to get that done. Miller Kopp can flat out shoot, an 85% foul shooter. You know what? I wouldn't bring that up. That's really not the kind of thing where you say, hey, look how many foul shots I can hit. But with Indiana ranking outside the 200 the last 4 years, you know what? It's really good news to have guys who can shoot free throws. Now, three-point shots, last year a little bit down for Miller Kopp, but overall at Northwestern, a 36% shooter. As a sophomore, is about 39%. He can flat shoot. He's a wing. Indiana has now got three wings. They've got Jerome Hunter, Jordan Geronimo, and Miller Kopp. They got bigs. Trace Jackson Davis. You've also got Logan Duncombe, the freshman out of Cincinnati, or incoming freshman out of Cincinnati, and Race Thompson. And then at the guard position, you got a lot of guys. We talked about it yesterday. I thought you had six. You've really got seven. You've got Tamar Bates. You've got Parker Stewart. You've got Xavier Johnson. You've got Trey Galloway. You've got Anthony Leal. You've got Rob Finney. You've got Christian Lander. How about that? I named them all. 7 guards, 2 spots. 13 scholarship players who can play. And they got 200 minutes to earn among them per game. What that means is that if I play Indiana basketball, I'm in the gym right now and I'm working my ass off and doing everything that Mike Woodson says would be good for me to do. I am bought in. I am doing everything I can. Or, you know what? I'm really got to think hard about maybe transferring if I'm one of these guys. You know, if I'm Trey Galloway, I am busting my ass, and I got to think that is part of the character of Trey Galloway that makes him valuable on a program like Indiana's. Anthony Leal, same thing. If you don't want to work, you know what? You're not going to earn, and that's the way it should be. Mike Woodson is going to hold players accountable. That's what he's from. That's what he does. He did it in the NBA. He is not going to be intimidated by the oddness of an 18 to 22-year-old guy when he coached Carmelo Anthony. It just isn't going to happen. Mike Woodson is going to hold players accountable. He's going to lay down the law. He's going to define expectations, and he's going to hold people to them. And that is how these people are going to get better. And that's how Indiana basketball as a program is going to get better. And I cannot wait to see it. I was asked earlier today who I thought the starting 5 were going to be. I said TJD plus TBD plus TBD plus TBD plus TBD. It's TJD, Trace Jackson Davis, and then 4 to be determined. I have no idea. It could be any of those guys. Is Tamar Bates coming to sit? Is Parker Stewart staying to sit? Did Xavier Johnson transfer from Pitt to sit? How about Miller Kopp? Is he coming from Evanston to sit? Did Jordan Geronimo and Christian Lander decide to stay in order to sit? Race Thompson? No. They want to play. So if you want to play, you better get with the program and you better start working your ass off or you are not going to play. Fascinating times for Indiana. First time I can remember. Now there's no like, Trace Jackson Davis is pretty good. 3rd team All-American. All right. So he's pretty good. But after that, you got 12 guys who are all in the scrap to go get minutes. And those 12 guys are going to push each other like hell. And Trace Jackson Davis needs to take a step up in terms of leadership and become a leader on this team. And Rob Finney's got to listen to Dane Fife. Dane Fife said some really positive things about Rob Finney. If Rob Finney wants in his last year at Indiana to finish with a flourish, he'd better listen to Dane Fife. And he'd better become a defensive specialist who you can count on in a pinch to knock down a 3. He's always kind of been that guy, but not all the time. Indiana basketball, to me, is fascinating. And what's going to happen once they throw it up? and start playing ball, that either we are really going to be disappointed or we're going to feel really good about them. And I don't think there's any in between with this Indiana team. Indiana fans are really getting swelled. You know what I mean? They're joyous. When was the last time Indiana lost an off season, right? It's been a while since Indiana lost an off season. We search for things to hope, right? The hope builders, those kinds of things. We search for them. We're like the Cleveland Browns of college basketball. Cleveland, they never go to a Super Bowl. They're never going to go to a Super Bowl. But by God, every offseason, you look at what they've done, and people in Cleveland look at what they've done, and they say, whew, we're pretty good. We have made strides toward being a championship-level team. This is phenomenal. Indiana is what that is to college basketball, and that's got to change, and hopefully Mike Woodson changes it. It's got to become Indiana basketball again. It can't become or be the University of Archie Miller, the University of Tom Crean, or the University of Kelvin Sampson. It's got to be Indiana University. Indiana University's basketball culture was honed for a long time with Hobie Billingsley, Branch McCracken. He's the old diving coach. Branch McCracken and Bob Knight. Generations with those two guys. And before that, Everett Dean, right? It's got to get back to whatever that was. And it's got to be tough guy basketball. It's got to be shooters. And you got to make buckets. We can complicate basketball all you want, and talk about hedging and talk about, this kind of screen and that kind of screen and this kind of pick and roll and that kind of pick and roll and blah, 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 blah. What you need to do in basketball is you need to create shots that your players can make, and you need to deny your opponent that same thing. That is it. Create shots you can make and deny your opponent the ability to create shots that they can make. That's basketball. You want to complicate it, you can do it. You want to use a bunch of analytics to be able to complicate it, go ahead and do that. They've been playing it a long time. People have always known how to play it. You don't need a computer to spit out an offensive schematic that is destined to work. You just don't need it. It's basketball, just like baseball. I don't need a computer to tell me that Anthony Rizzo's a pull hitter. I don't need that. Some kind of, dot array showing where he hits the baseball. He hits the baseball to right. That's what he does. I don't need a computer to tell me that Javi Baez cannot lay off a low and away slider. I don't need that. You need a computer for that? Good. You need a computer for that. I don't need a computer for that. Anyway, these are interesting times for Indiana and interesting times for college basketball. We're going to talk about the Colts in a minute. But first I want to talk about the transfer rule with the NCAA, the one-time transfer rule that has really, even in its nascent stages, has caused a little bit of chaos with college basketball. And here's the deal. All right, you can transfer one time and you have automatic eligibility that's immediate. That's the way it is. You don't need a waiver, any of that stuff. What you need is you just say, I'm going in the portal. They put you in the portal. And then somebody says, hey, come on over and play here. You say, all right. You go over and play there. Now, there are windows where you can make that declaration and that the school is obligated to put your name in the portal. However, eligibility is immediate. So this is going to turn college basketball into a little bit of the Wild Wild West, right? There's always been a lot of transferring in college basketball as well as college football, but more in college basketball. There are downsides to this, serious downsides to transferring in college basketball. One is that there are going to be a lot of programs. Why they need to recruit freshmen? Why do you want to recruit a high school kid? What benefit is there to that when you can go out and get a 21 or 22-year-old who kind of knows his way around and understands how college basketball works, right? You've also got kids who are going to run from adversity instead of embracing adversity. College and life, really, is all about dealing with adversity. You find it, you figure out a way to overcome it, circumvent it, go over the top of it, whatever you have to do. That's what you do. Now, what you don't do with adversity is run the other direction. That you don't do. But this transfer rule kind of encourages that sort of behavior. Another thing is churning rosters are going to make it really, really difficult for current players on any team to figure out what the hell they're doing or how much you're going to play the next year. You think you're a returning starter? Do you not think that your coach is going to recruit over the top of you if he can and put somebody else on the floor who can win him more games and maybe save his job? Yes. It's not going to be, let's bring in high school kids and develop them over 4 years. Let's evaluate each of these kids every year. And as we've got kids moving on, we go bring kids in. Jerome Hunter, I'm sure, thought at the end of last season that he was going to be the starting 3. Well, hello, Miller Kopp. Miller Kopp's going to have something to say about that, and so will Jordan Geronimo. Everybody's fighting for everything, and that is going to make this murky, right? Coaches, they like to keep their gigs. These are high-paying gigs. And players, if they get in the way of that, the players are going to be gone. And that's the way it's going to go. Recruiting freshmen might not happen nearly as much as it has in the past. I don't think it's good for players to transfer. I don't think it's good for coaches to have players transferring at this level. I don't think it's good for parents, and I don't think it's good for college basketball as a whole to have this amount of potential transfers. However, I don't believe that it's the NCAA's job to legislate against it. I would counsel every player to exhaust all avenues in dealing successfully with adversity head on. At every turn, I would counsel them to do that. You've got 4 years of eligibility. Very few are going to go to the pros. What you can get out of this is you can figure out exactly in life when you're 40 and you're up against it and you have no idea what's going to happen professionally, and you've got a mortgage and you've got a wife and you've got 2 kids, both of whom you'd like to send to college. How do you deal with that kind of adversity? Well, if in college you dealt with it head on and you were successful in dealing with it, then you've got a better chance. You've rehearsed that behavior, and that is what college is in large part, is it's a rehearsal for real life. You have all kinds of trapdoors in college. You can make responsible decisions. You can make irresponsible decisions. You're going to pay for all of them or be rewarded by them for making those decisions in the end. One way or another, you're going to be penalized or you're going to be rewarded just like you are in real life. I would counsel everybody to stick it out and try to earn it. Get in the gym. Go to Cook Hall. Work really hard. Don't just put your name in the portal and wait for DePaul to call. Like, what are you doing? Let's talk for a minute about the Colts. Chris Ballard, the NFL Network, it's not available on any cable system that I can find, but they still do business. I guess it's going to be available on Hulu Live now. Anyway, what they have said is that Chris Ballard is the best general manager in the NFL. And I love Chris Ballard. I am a huge admirer of his management philosophy, his willingness to be honest, his ability to trust subordinates and put together a great draft board and a great plan and execute it. I love it. I think he's a terrific general manager. But he's the best in the NFL with a 32-32 record. He's the best in the NFL with a 1-2 record in the postseason. Don't you need to win something in order to be hailed as the best at anything? You know, like, you got to win a championship, right? Who remembers guys who weren't champions? Bill Lanier is not said, or Bob Lanier. Bill Lanier. Bob Lanier, nobody says that's the greatest basketball player of all time. Nobody says that's the greatest center of all time because he never won a championship, right? You've got to win something in order to be the best among your peers who have won something. Having the NFL Network call you the best general manager in football, while Bill Belichick's got a handful of rings, multiple hands full of rings, you've got a guy in light down in Tampa who just won a Super Bowl by going out and getting Tom Brady, and then Tom Brady said, "Ali Ali Oxenfree," and all his guys came, and they won a Super Bowl. There are a lot of really good general managers in the NFL, and Chris Ballard's one of them, but he's not the best in the NFL, or at least you can't make that case in any kind of substantial and serious way. Tomorrow morning, Breakfast with Ken, I can't wait. What is Indiana basketball going to do tomorrow that's going to captivate us? We'll talk about it tomorrow. I can't wait. Brought to you by the great people at Today's Dentistry.